I'm alive. Okay, so welcome back. We missed last week, but we're up to episode 14.
14,
Yeah,
I think.
I think. Lost count. Okay, so we're gonna try and keep it really short this week. We're gonna start trying keeping our videos down to 15 minutes. So click like and subscribe. La 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 la. That was really quick. We're going to talk about a couple of things. So the first thing we want to talk about was quotas.
Gender quotas. So it's just come out, I think, today in the last few hours. The Queensland Police Service that I formerly worked for as a police officer has been preferencing less qualified female applicants over more qualified male applicants, or as they described it, meritorious male applicants. There's an indication. There's an interesting couple of quotes that I'd like to read. The first one, they don't sort of make sense together, but one quote is, in total, what we have found to date is 6 women out of 578 who were recruited into the QPS during this period were subject to the findings of the report. And what they were saying there is that there are 6 women who did not make the standard for recruitment, but were recruited anyway. They claim that the 6 women then successfully passed the course at the academy and were given no preferential treatment at the academy. But there's another quote. The report found that if various discriminatory practices had not been implemented, an estimated 200 more meritorious male applicants would have been successful in their attempts to join the QPS. So I find that really interesting. In the first quote, they're saying that only 6 women were recruited under this preferential treatment, but somehow 200 men missed out. So I'd really like to know what happened to the other 194 positions. So I think I might even approach QPS and see if I can clarify that information with them. Is it actually more like 200 women were recruited under this program? It's possible, I suppose, that the other 194 actually passed the basic requirements and got in, 194 women, but there were more meritorious men who missed out. So I think the really important, that's quite possible actually, but the really important number then is the 200. It's 200 men that should have got in, didn't.
See, this when it comes to gender quotas, it always shocks me because I'm thinking, especially with the police, considering what they do, like they protect us. I want somebody that's qualified. I don't give a crap what gender you are. Really don't. I don't care how you identify yourself. I don't care about anything else. If you protect me, thank you. What I do care about is if they're going by a quota by saying we need more females to make us look like we're,
gender balanced.
Yeah, it's like, do people really give a holy crap the gender of the person that's going to protect you?
They shouldn't, exactly. In fact, apparently it was a 50% target is the way they're describing it. And it seems that QPS has denied all knowledge of this, and the higher management of QPS is now hiding everywhere they can to sort of jump out of the firing line as this explodes. So, and they apparently have punished several employees, a couple of police officers and a civilian, and I think a 4th one had already left. So apparently they looked at criminal charges, but there were no criminal charges pending.
But there should be. These are they don't seem to realise that when they go through gender quotas, they're actually being sexist.
That's right,
because
exactly.
You should be, as I said, you should be targeting somebody with qualifications. If I'm running an establishment that is, 50-50, but I need a female CEO so the company looks good, I'm going to, if that's the way I'm going to do it, I get it. But I'm going to hire the best person for the job, not just hire the female because they're female. Like, it just doesn't make sense.
Quotas, the bottom line is quotas are the enemy of merit and meritocracy. And if you're going to limit your selection by a quota, you're not going to get the best person overall, because you're selecting the best candidate from a subset of the entire group.
Yeah, like just hire the best person for the job.
Right.
But it's simple. I mean,
Yep.
if I left high school halfway through year 11. I haven't got any specialized tertiary education. I don't know big long words. I need a thesaurus when I go out. But I'm trying to think sensibly and logically and make it sound sane. If somebody like me out of a high school, as a high school dropout, for lack of a better term, how can I logically think that this is insane?
My view has always been, work out what the standards need to be to meet the requirement, set those standards, and have everybody go to those standards. And that way, back in the First Gulf War, which was 1990, 1991, and some people will now be too young to remember that. There was something very strange happened that I thought was really odd. They set a requirement for fitness for journalists to embed with US forces during the conflict, and as I recall, men had to be able to run 2 miles in 13 minutes. I think it was 2 miles, and women in 15 minutes. And that always struck me as odd. It was because in case there was a rocket attack, it always struck me as odd that the rockets would be slower while women were around. If 15 minutes is good enough, then let everybody go to 15 minutes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You don't seem to understand that. Actually, if they're trying to do it to bring women up, and I get that, they're actually degrading women, saying you were only hiring you because to meet a quota. You were not hiring you because your qualifications. You've got 75% of what we want, not the 100% of what we'll hire a male on. But you're a female, so we'll bring you in anyway.
That's the prejudice or sexism of low expectations, which is all over feminism.
Yeah,
they have very low expectations of women, and they think women need special treatment all the time.
Well, I had a debate with somebody, of course, on Facebook recently, where it was Anthony Albanese. How'd you say his last name? Anthony Albanese.
Mm-hmm.
However you say his last name, I really don't give a crap. Said something about women's supers being less.
So this is the elite of the opposition in Australia.
Yeah. And I'm like, it wasn't him I was arguing with. Somebody actually commented that women were restricted with their super until recently. And I'm like, I work in super. That's a flat out lie. Superannuation as legislation only came in the mid-90s, 96,
early 90s. Oh, maybe early 90s. Perhaps I think it was optional for a few years, and then they started enforcing it.
It was an option for many years before that. Yeah. But as far as legislation goes, everybody got paid. Everybody's super was paid the same as a minimum. There were certain companies that paid more.
And that is, of course, Australia's superannuation system, which is our mandatory retirement scheme.
Exactly.
So we can't access until 65 for most of us.
Well, yeah, you can access it at 60, but you got to meet certain requirements. At 65, it's yours.
Well, cool.
It's all yours. No questions asked. You could still be working full time. At 65, your super's yours. But this woman turned around and that was arguing with me, and she said women have less in their super because of the jobs they choose, because of how society views women. And I got my back up because I had already stated that women choose jobs that don't pay as much. And we've discussed this when it comes to Cert 3 of building and construction and Cert 3 of childcare. They're both Cert 3 certificates, but one job gets paid more, but it's two different jobs. Two
That's right.
completely different jobs.
We know that women will preference a closer commute, a shorter commute over more money. Men will do the opposite. We know that women will prefer a job that they think they will like over more money. Men will do the opposite. Men will generally prioritize money over other concerns. Principally, I would suggest because they're having to support a family in most cases.
Yeah.
Women will do the opposite, and this leads to significant difference in pay.
And this woman came, and I turned around to this woman, and she said, because of society's views on women, they take certain roles. And I was like, whoa, back up. That's crap, because I do the role I do because it's what I'm interested in. I had to take responsibility for my choices in the workforce. If I wanted to become a mechanic, if I wanted to become a builder constructor, anything like that, I could have still done those jobs.
Yep.
And I would still be getting paid the same as a man.
Yeah, exactly. It's personal responsibility. And as you know, in Australia and throughout most countries now and all of the West, it is illegal to pay women less for the same work or pay men less for the same work. So when there have been analyses, by the way, there have been a number of analyses recently. The BBC has had a significant one. And there was one here in Australia. I think the company was Lions. The Workplace Gender Equality Agency actually told me about that one when I wrote to them once. In any case, in both cases, and there may be others, they had an independent body to assess their pay scales. And at least in the case of the BBC, more men got pay rises than women. And I think that was something similar may have happened with Lions, although I'd want to check that.
Yeah, but there's a difference between getting a pay rise and getting paid the same.
This was at the same level. So
reflects your job. If you get a pay rise, that usually reflects against how you're doing your job.
Well, this was following an independent audit, and the idea was that the independent auditor found that these individuals were not being paid at the appropriate level, and so a number of men and women had pay rises out of that at the BBC. But what was notable was a lot more men did, about 3/4 of more men. So there were a fairly significant number of men that were underpaying as well.
Wow. See, it just goes to show. But as I said, if you get a pay rise, it's usually because of the quality of work you're doing, not because of you're a male or a female.
Exactly. That's right.
Because they're going to want to keep you on. As a company, you got to think smart. If I was a CEO and I was like, okay, this person's getting paid this much, they do excellent work, I want to keep them with me, I'll pay them more money. Where Jane Doe over here, she does her work, but it's a bit iffy. Don't want to lose her, but I'm not willing to try and bribe her to keep her here. That's just
I'll reiterate, I've mentioned this before, I know, but I'll reiterate, I wrote to the Workplace Gender Equality Agency and queried their terminology, and in a reply letter, which they gave me permission to publish, and which I have published on the Voice for Men, and it's also available on Wiki for Men, they said that the national gender pay gap is not a result of a like-for-like comparison. I'm paraphrasing them, but not by much.
Yeah.
So the exact wording is available on the Voice for Men and Wiki for Men. They admitted it was not a like-for-like comparison.
And that's what people do not understand when they argue about the gender pay gap, is we're not talking about the same job, the same hours, doing the same work.
Is it really surprising that different people doing different jobs would end up getting different pay?
It makes sense. But even to me, I'll use me as an example. If I was a builder and laying bricks, and I had to move 50 bricks from A to B, and I could do it in 10 minutes, and John Doe could do it in 15 minutes, I'd expect to get paid more than John Doe.
Yep.
And vice versa, because we're not doing a like-for-like job.
That's right. But if it was a woman being paid less, that would now be called sexist and discriminatory, and they'd be made to fix it.
But it's not a like-for-like job. Like, I'm doing 50% more work.
That's right.
this is what people aren't understanding. If yeah, you and I are, and I'm going to use building because it is a male-dominated area.
Mm-hmm.
If we've got to build this house, and you can only work 8 hours, but I can work 9 hours.
Mm.
You can only lay 10 bricks in 10 minutes, where I can lay 20.
Mm.
Who should get paid more, you or me?
Exactly. The person who can do a lot more work. That's right.
Exactly. So it's not it's not a like for like.
That's right.
It's not like for like. We're still in the same job. We're still doing the same thing, but I'm just doing more.
And we're now over 15 minutes.
Okay, we did it. Okay, we'll pick this up again next week. But this is all we're going to do. We're just going to have quick little chats because
that's right.
Yeah, click like and subscribe.
Thank you very much, Nat.
I'll see you next week.
Next week. Bye.
Bye.